Good morning, everyone. I hope that by this time you're all awake and ready for some really nice activities. Now, today I wanted to start by telling you a story. It's a very known story, uh, and it's the story of Abraham. And it goes a bit like this. Many years ago, there was a man named Abraham. Abraham was a good man who owned many sheep and cattle. He lived with his wife in the land of Israel. But he had no children. And one day, Abraham was resting in his tent after a hard day's work. Back then, people lived in tents because they had to move from place to place to find food for their many sheep and cattle. It was a night like any other night until God appeared. This must have been a bit of a surprise for Abraham, and maybe more than a little bit scary. But God said to Abraham, "Do not be afraid. I am your defender. I promised that I will give you a great reward, a great prize." But Abraham said, "What kind of reward? What kind of a prize? I don't even have any children." And then God took Abraham out beneath the starry sky. "Look up at the stars in the sky," he said. "You will have a son, and he will have children, and his children will have children, and they will have more children, and one day will be as many as the stars in the sky." Abraham said, "How can this be? I am too old." But God had made a promise to Abraham. God promised Abraham that he would have children, and from him a great nation would come. God promised that they would live in the land that God had given them. And he promised that because of Abraham, all the people on earth would be blessed. And God always keeps his promises. Abraham believed God's promise, and Abraham's faith pleased God. It was his faith in God and God's promise that made things right between Abraham and God. And this is an important thing to remember. Now, this is a nice story, and I will tell you more about it when we'll meet physically. But in the meanwhile, I wanted to give you a kind of a homework, okay, an activity. You will receive some stars like this, and I want you to color them. Color them as you want, with the colors that you like, and you can be creative, okay? And then when we meet, I'm going to tell you more about this activity. So color your star, and you can also make a sign or write your name so that you recognize your star, okay? Enjoy! See you later!